Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bho Bhava Swaha Tatsavitra Varenayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya tamso ma jyotirgamya mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavatu sehna bhunaktu saviryam karvavahi tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti shanti shanti. So today is Thursday, so we are studying Kathopanishad. Started a couple of weeks ago, and we saw that how this young boy, so determined, so full of wisdom, asking the questions to Lord of Death, because Lord of Death, he gave him 3 boons. So first boon, he used it for the benefit of his father. Second boon, he used for the benefit of the human beings. And we'll see today the third boon is using it for himself. Okay? By taking care of the other responsibilities, then he knows that what he wants. Okay? So let's open the books and start with verse number 18. Trinaha chiket trayam etat viditvaha ya evam vidwan chinutehe nachiketam samrityu pashan purtaha pranye shokatiga modate swarg lokehe. Trinad chiketaha. Who has purified with the Nachiketa fire? Doing it thrice, 3 times. So there are 3 parts to it. And that's what we learned last week from the previous verse. Trayam, 3. Etat, these. Viditvayaha, having known. Evam das, vidwan, the knower. Chinutehe, performs. Nachiketam, the Nachiketa fire. Okay? So because Yamraj said, this sacrifice will be known with your name, Nachiketa fire. So means he Mrityu Pashan, the chain of death. Purtaha, before, that means before death. Pranye, destroying, throwing away. Shokatim, free from sorrow. Modate, rejoices. Swargaloke, in the heaven. He who has performed the Nachiketa's fire, that sacrifice, thrice, so 3 times, and thus knows the 3. So that means that with the full knowledge of it, it's not just only doing the ritual for the sake of doing rituals with your body, but having a full knowledge, throws off the chains of death before the fall of the body itself, goes beyond sorrows and rejoices in the heavenly world. Okay. So Lord of Death is concluding his advice on the Nachiketa fire over here. So this sacrifice, sure, it's a glorification of Karam Kand. So that's why there's a fruits also. And this is done for the seeking the fruit also. The Swarag Lok. So he says, yes, the people who do it properly, it's not just only merely doing the ritual, but doing it properly also. That's why in Karam Kand, there are a lot of do's and don'ts also. In Karma Kand, sure, there are directions also important, and the time is important, and number of bricks you put in, and what are the shapes of the bricks also, because it's a Sakam Bhakti. But when we do Nishkam Bhakti, a yogic way, then it's beyond that, because you're not doing it to get any benefit out of it. Okay. So three things he told us: the bricks, their number, and the mode of their use. Whether it's the bricks, the number of the bricks, and the way they are shaped, the way the whole altar is shaped. All those things are very, very important for this kind of a karma kand. So he who performs this yajna, and also, but there has to be meditation for it too. That's why he said over here, doing it with the full knowledge will reach the state of the total intellect, which is called Brahma Loka. So this is the deep significance over here, that Karma Kand coupled with Upasana also. Because often we want to just do the Karma Kand just for the sake of doing the Karma Kand. Did it, that's it, as a burden. No, Karma Kand coupled with the Upasana, meditation. Okay, so, and this death also means, see, death while living, you will cross over the death while living. That really means that all those rotten negativities in our mind. And what are those rotten negativities? The ignorance, the worldly desires, the hatred, anger, all those are rotten negativities. So if we are doing the Karma Kand, we got to make sure that this negativity flows away from our personality. So the practitioner of this synthesis of Karma and Upasana will definitely attain, he says, the heavenly abode. Okay. Now let's look at the next verse. Eshaha te agni nachiketaha swargyaha yam avrinithaha dviten varen etam agnim tav ev pravakshyanti janasaha tritiyam varam nachiketaha vrishniv. Eshaha, this. Te means they. Agni, the fire. Nachiketa, swargya, that leads to heaven. Yam, which avrinithaha, you have chosen. Dvityen, by the second. Varen, the boon, the blessing. Etam, this. Agnim, fire sacrifice. Tav ev. Tav means your, ev means alone. Pravakshyanti will call. Janasaha, people. Tritiyam, the third. Varam, boon. Nachiketaha, Vrishniv, choose. So this is your fire, O Nachiketa. Okay, so that's why I said it's called Nachiketa fire. Nachiketa Yajna. So this is your fire, O Nachiketa, which leads to heaven and which you craved for as your second boon. People will call this fire after your name alone. O Nachiketa, now you choose your third boon. So extremely pleased at Nachiketa's intelligence, sincerity, and devotion, and the kind of a boons he asked for. Lord of Death is blessing him with this extra boon, that this fire ceremony will be called after your name. And then now he is telling him, choose your third boon. Let's see, what does he choose as a third boon? Ya iyam pretehe vichiksaha manushya asti iti cha eke ayam na asti iti cha eke etat vidyam anushishtaha tavya aham varanam eshaha varutrityaha. Yam means that, iyam, this, prete, when dead, vichiksaha, doubt, manushya, in man, in a human being, asti, exist, iti, thus, cha means and, eke, some, I am this, na means not, asti, exist, iti, thus, cha means and, eke means some. Second line, etat, this, vidyam, to know, anushishtaha, being taught, tavya, by you, aham, I, varanam, among the boons, eshaha, this, varaha, boon, tritya, the third. So he says, this is the third boon I am asking for. He says, there is the doubt. When a person is dead, some say he exists, and some again say he does not. This I should like to know, being taught by you. This is the third boon that I ask. So in other words, what happens after death? We know that the ideal spiritual aspirant will ask questions like this. Even use of the boon like this to know something which is so subtle. First, he asked for something grosser in the first two boons to help other people. But now he wants to cash his last of his boons for his own kalyan, for his own liberation, for himself. Because he says there are doubts. And he knows that only Lord of Death can clarify for me. See, the first two boons, if you look at it, if we haven't done that, if we have not taken care of our parents, if we have not taken care of some of the societal responsibilities, our mind has not reached this level. So that's why the first kalyan for the others. Only then we can even think about redemption for ourselves. So this is the qualification of a true seeker. A spiritual aspirant must be fully aware of the needs and sorrows of the world of people. Must seek to find within himself the kindness and love for others. Okay? Because we are all one. We are connected. So that's why with this verse, this Upanishad starts actually. It was only given he was setting up the foundation. The real knowledge for self-kalyan starts from here. So far the effort was building up a dramatic situation with the help of this story, so that our attention is there. So now this doubt has been raised by the young Brahman boy. He is showing his scriptural knowledge. He is showing the desire for self-knowledge. So he says, many thinkers who have been, I have heard different philosophies in that great land of Bharatvarsha. People were encouraged to think. People were encouraged to speak out. So that's why some people say, no, this body is the only thing which really matters, the materialists. After death, there's nothing else. Like a Charvak philosophy. or the nihilists of the Buddhistic order also. They say there's nothing else. This is it. So, but then there are Vedic philosophy. Soul is everything. So he says, I would really like to know from you how and why of the phenomena which we call death. Because even among the thinkers, there are many thoughts. They're called the schools of thinkers. They have been established. Okay. So he says, I would like to know. Such transcendental questions cannot be explained by words. There is no ordinary proof of knowledge, such as direct perception, inference, or comparison, etc. The only way to solve this kind of a problem is through the agam. Agam are the words of the wise, of the realized, the people who have the great realization, or the words which are written in the Shrutis, the Vedas. This is called the intuitive faculty. It is not just a general knowledge. So it is only the great masters of the renunciation and wisdom who have developed this intuition, who can really see the realm beyond this realm. And that's why he's asking the Lord of Death, Dharamraj himself. He knows that who could be a better teacher than Dharamraj himself. Because a mere book knowledge can confuse us. And that's why he's mentioning over here that there are different conclusions about it by the different thinkers. They would love to argue because they think independently and they really are thinking with their mind and the intellect according to their own temperaments and according to their own culture. He says that I would really like to know it from you. The only person that can give us a true judgment is the master, who has the subjective experience of this, not just a bookish knowledge. So Nachiketa is fully justified in asking the Lord of Death this adhyatmic question. This is called the adhyatmic question about the Atma. What happens to the Atma? That's what he's talking about. Sure, about the body, he knows. Body becomes inert. But he wants to know, does Atma goes away too? Into Shunya, into zero? Or does it still stay? Devahi atra api vichikitsam puraha nahi suvegyam anu eshaha dharmaha anyam varam nachiketaha vrinishva maya uprotsihi ma ati svij enam. So now Yamraj is saying, Deve, by the gods, that means the Devatas. Atra means on this point. Api means even. We chikitsam have doubted. Puraha, in the olden times. Nahi. Na means not. He means verily. So that means verily it is not. Suvigyayam, easy to understand. Anu, subtle. Esha, this. Dharmaha, the subjective principle. Anyam, another. Varam, boon. Nachiketaha. Vrinishva, choose. Ma, do not. Ma uprotsihi, don't press me. Ma means me. Ati srij, give up. Enam, this. So Lord of Death is saying on this point, even the gods, the devatas have doubted in olden times. Verily, the subject is very subtle. It's not easy to understand. O Nachiketa, choose another boon. Do not press me on this. Give this up for me. So he's insisting, he says, do not ask this kind of a boon. So here onwards, we will find a series of verses where Lord Death is actually testing the disciple. There are hundreds of people with their immature mind. They stumble upon the doubts and then they just give up. Doubt comes and then they give up their inquiry. So those kind of a people generally do not ripe into this kind of a subjective experience. They do not grasp the subtlety of the scripture, which is discussed in the scriptures. So to give out the absolute standpoint and to discuss with them directly the divine nature of this soul is definitely a wasteful effort if the student is not ready. That's why in Hindi, what do they say? Bandar kya jaane adrak ka swad. So this kind of a subtle knowledge, the Yamraj didn't want to just give away unless the student was ready. So that's why the great masters always test the disciple. And only when the disciples are found to be fit for the great initiation, they will deliver this kind of a knowledge. It's a deep knowledge. So Yamraj is trying to examine Nachiketa, the seeker. And that's why he's making this kind of argument with him. Unless the recipient has the required receptivity, it is not only futile, but at times dangerous also to give out the sacred truths of the Vedantic wisdom. It's almost like a matchbox or a lighter. It's a blessing in the hands of a grown-up. And it's so dangerous in the hand of a child. Okay, it's very powerful, this kind of a knowledge. So unprepared student, actually most of the unprepared students, they don't even, they themselves don't want it. But even if they want it little bit, they get bored with it. But Yamraj wanted to see that my time spent is very valuable too. Will I be wasting with this young boy? So that's why he's testing him. He says, Devai yatra api vichikitsam kil tvam cha mrityoho yatna suvigeyam at vaktaha cha asye twadrik anya na labhya na anya vara tulya etasye kaschit. Devai, again by the devatas, the gods. Atra here, api even, vichikitsam, have doubted. Kill indeed, tvam cha, you also, mrityo, O death. Yat means which, na means not, su vigyayam, easy to understand. At, say, so you are saying it. Vaktaha, one who tells, or the teacher. Cha means and, asye, to this. Twadrik, like you. anya, other, na labhya, cannot be found, na anya, not other, varaha, boon, tulya, equal, etasya, of this, kashchit, any. Because Yamraj is saying, ask for another boon. So Nachiketa is saying, you say, O death, that even the gods have doubts here. The Devatas have the doubt about this. And that this is not so easy to know. To know means experience, not just theoretically knowing. None other teacher like you who can tell of this can be found. No other boon can at all equal this. So he is showing confidence in the teacher, and he is sticking to the boon he asked for. Because he says, you are saying yourself, no other Devata knows, so I cannot go to any other Devata. I have found the right master, right teacher. You are the Lord of death. So only you know, and this is the only boon I want. So Lord Death's tempting words in the last verse, sure, it is a masterpiece actually. When he says, ask for something else. But when we look at the students' words over here in this verse, they are equally great masterpiece. So if his guru is that level, the student is also high caliber. So according to this great student, there is no boon which can be equal to an answer to this great question of the beyond. Because he knows the fruit gained by any other boon, it's perishable, it's finite. They have only the material gains. And again, he knows that he says, you are saying that no God knows this. They keep on debating about it. I mean, people in the mortal world, definitely, but if the gods are also, so I need a great master to give me this knowledge, and this is the only boon I want. I want this knowledge. And there couldn't be any greater master than Lord Death himself. It's almost like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna showed that kind of a faith in Lord Krishna. He said, only you can tell me, you can show me, nobody else. So this kind of a confidence in a teacher is very rare. Very rare. Normally, if a guru says something sometimes, even if it's for our benefit, we get tantalized by something else which is more charming very easily. So these Upanishads are really showing us how to be a good student, what kind of questions to ask, what the purpose of life is. There's a lot of deep meaning behind these verses over here. Shatayushaha putra putran vrineshva bahun pashuna hasti hiranyame ashwan bhume mahat ayatnam vrishnev swayam cha jeev sharda yavat ichhasi. So now Yamraj is saying, Shat Ayushaha, who may live 100 years. Shat means 100. Putra Putran, sons and grandsons. Vrinishva, ask for. Bahun, many. Pashun, cattle. Hastihi, elephants. Hiranyam, gold. Ashwan, horses. Bhume, in the world, Mahat, vast, great. Ayatnam, kingdom, territory. Vrinishva, you choose. Swayamcha. Swayam means yourself, cha means and. Jeev, live. Shardaha, years. Sharda means actually autumns, but autumn over here really means years, that many years, that many autumns. See, just like we get the blessings from the old people, may you live 100, you see 100 Diwalis. So that means 100 years. Yavat, as many, Ichhasi, you like. So Yamraj is saying, choose sons and grandsons who may live 100 years. Herds of cattle, elephants, gold and horses. So that means all kinds of material wealth. Choose a vast territory on earth, the kingdom. Live yourself as many autumns as you like. So long life, as long as you want to live. He says, choose this, but do not ask that question from me. So Lord of Death is now continuing his endless charms to test the caliber of the student here. Unless a seeker has come to feel a complete detachment from the delusory charms of the sense objects, there is no understanding of this deep knowledge. Intellectually, maybe a person can understand it, but there cannot be a subjective experience of it. So he is offering him all kinds of gifts over here. Maybe he says he's thinking that this student, this seeker, maybe these charms will catch his attention. So that's why Yamraj is offering Nachiketa many sons, grandsons, who will have a long life. But he's being offered as many years of life as he would like to live and enjoy too. Okay. Etat tulyam yadi manyase varam vrineshva vitam chir jivikam cha mahabhumau nachiketaha tvam edhi kamanam tva kam bhajam karomi. Etat means this. Tulyam, equal to. Yadi, if. Manyase, consider. Varam, boon. Vrineshva, you choose. Vitam, wealth. Chir jivikam, long life. Cha means and. Mahabhumau, wide earth, large, vast kingdom. Nachiketa, tvam means you. Edhi, become. Or like be a king. Edhi, kamanam, of all desires. Tva means you. Kama bhajam, the enjoyer. Karomi, I shall make. So this is a continuation. He must have seen that no effect on Nachiketa's face after offering him the sons and the grandson and all kinds of wealth and a long life. No effect on his face that he's going to change his mind. So he says, ask for some other boon equal to this. If this doesn't please you, ask for something else. If you think fit, such as wealth and longevity, be king of the wide earth, O Nachiketa. I shall make you the enjoyer of all your desires. That means if you have some other kind of a desire, I will fulfill that also. So here he is giving a supplementary list in addition to the previous verse. So all kinds of things. He says, if I have not mentioned something and you are tempted by that, I'll give you that. So it's like some kind of a secret desire if you have of your own, which I did not cover it in my previous list, long list. Thinking like this, the Lord of Death invites Nachiketa to ask whatever you want to cherish. If there's any other desire you have other than the wealth and the long life, tell me that. Whatever is in your mind, I will fulfill that. So that's why he's saying, I offer you the lordship over the whole world. Mahabhumao, the whole world. And he says, I promise you that you will enjoy all your possible desires. Look at it, all these boons, all these promises Lord of Death is making in exchange for a simple question, simple request. Drop that question. And what was that question? Is there an existence after death? That's his asking. Do we ever have a keen interest in knowing that? For average person, there won't be any question about it. Sure, I mean, if God is giving me all that, I would rather take that. It will seem like a bargain to average person. But over here, the sad failure of Lord of Death. Because Nachiketa is not agreeing. He wants only the answer to that question of his. And Lord of Death, in verse number 25, let's see what he says. Ye kama durlabha mritya loke sarvan kaman chandataha pratyasva imara maha saratha saturya nahi idrisha labhniya manushya abhi mat pratabhi parichar yasva nachiketaha marnam ma anuprakshihi. Ye, whatever, kamaha, objects of desire, durlabha, difficult to attain, mrityalokaha, in the world of mortals, sarvan, all, kaman, objects of desires, chandata, according to your desires, parthesva, ask for. Ima means these, ramaha, that means the fair ladies or the maidens, they say, are like angels. Ramaha, Sarthaha with chariots, Suturyaha with musical instruments. Na means not, he means indeed, Idrishaha, such enjoyable. Idrisha means such, Lambhniyaha, enjoyable. So together, such enjoyable. Manushya, by mortals. Abhi, with them, with these ladies, angels. Mat pratabhi, given by me. Paricharasya, attendants. Nachiketaha. Marnam, death. Ma means do not. Anuprakshi, question about. He says, whatever desires are difficult to attain in this world of mortals, you ask for them all according to your wish. These fair maidens with their chariots and musical instruments, such indeed are not enjoyable by mortals. So like a heavenly apsara. You be attended on by them. I will give them to you. But O Nachiketa, do not question about the state of the soul after death. So what he is saying, that anything in this world and anything from the heaven also, any kind of a thing which you can enjoy with the chariots also and the apsaras also. He says, I will give it to you, but do not ask that question from me. But still there is no change of mind in Nachiketa. A true sadhak who is marked out for success is he who has come to enjoy a balanced development of his physical, psychological, and spiritual personalities. That means full clarity. I am on the path of the spirituality. I don't want to slip back on that mere worldly comforts. Because if we slip back, then to stand up it is even harder. So that's why over here Nachiketa is staying firm. He is being offered the services of heavenly people, divinely beautiful, godly graceful, chariots and horses and everything else also. But no change of mind in Nachiketa's asking for the to replace that boon which he asked for. Okay. So we'll see next week how beautifully this 9-year-old boy is answering to all this to Lord of Death. In simple words, he says, you keep these dancers to yourself, these musicians to yourself, this wealth also. I have nothing to do with it. If you think that they are good, you keep them. Such a firmness, such a conviction and determination. So let's stop it here and we can discuss it, and we'll start with verse number 26 next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.